Joan, do you think that our mayor is shedding tears over what Kristi Noem had to say about him?
I don't think so, no.
I think they use that as like a badge of honor.
Yes, you're right. You're absolutely right. He loves that.
Yeah, they do. So, whatever. But, it was the same thing with you were without a voice on Friday. But Friday, we spoke about, everybody's favorite, numbskull here in Nashville, Justin Jones.
Oh, yeah.
Where he had to be escorted from the airport.
Yeah.
And people actually thought it was funny when I said, Justin was probably asking the airport security to, do him a solid and throw him down to the ground and give him the Padilla treatment.
Yes, exactly.
He was waiting for that. He was wishing and hoping and praying for that. And I love that the airport security is like, dude, just leave. Just leave. That's all we need you to do. And to his credit, I guess he did just leave as, he should have. But the whole thing was, as we all know, performative.
Oh, yeah.
That is what Justin Jones does. And so, this is just, they can't get any attention in Tennessee any other way. And so this is what they do. And we'll have to see, where the, what the next thing he decides to do is. But for the folks across Tennessee, I think that in my heart, you know how Murphy Show does nincompoops in the news?
Yeah.
In my heart, my all-time nincompoop in the news will be Justin Jones.
And he seems to earn it like once a week.
It is. It's like he's like a 5-star moron is what he is. Hey, real quick. Barack Obama, Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
So Sam has reminded me, do you remember way back when with Kimmel where Obama used to read, it's like, what was it, slow jams in the news or something that, or whatever it was?
Yeah.
So this was Barack Obama trolling Donald Trump before the election.
President Obama will go down as perhaps the worst president in the history of the United States! ! At real Donald Trump. Well, at real Donald Trump, at least I will go down as a president.
Wow. Don't you just love that?
Yeah.
That's why he was so mad, and that's why he tried to, take out Trump's first, couple of years, wrapping him up in the Mueller investigation. So, the more that we talk about it, the more that, and I've been covering it, today with Tulsi Gabbard saying she's got the receipts on Barack Obama, all that craziness, Russian collusion, did start with Barack Obama. So now she says that she does have the receipts. She's got whistleblowers as well, people that are within the former Obama intelligence agencies that now do want to come out and say, yeah, you know what? We were there. We saw all this going on, and we're disgusted by it. So this is going to be a really, really fun story to watch. It is 7:10 on Nashville's Morning News. There is a cultural thing, Joan, going on with the cancellation. Need some audio, if I could. With the cancellation of Stephen Colbert's show on CBS.
Next year will be our last season. The network will be ending The Late Show in May. And
so in response to the cancellation, Jimmy Kimmel tweeted this out, posted this out on X. He sends his support to Colbert in an Instagram story, actually. The 57-year-old wrote, "Love you, Stephen. F you and all your Sheldons, CBS." So that, of course, the F you and all your Sheldons is in response to the network, their various spin-offs of The Big Bang Theory.
Yes.
But I hate to break it to you, Jimmy Kimmel, but that show's actually working. So people are now really angry and upset, and they're trying to make political hay out of all of this when it is clear that this was nothing more than a business decision. But the Democrats, they will try to take out Donald Trump at every turn. This is Democrat Senator Chris Murphy over the weekend blaming Donald Trump for the cancellation of Stephen Colbert's show.
So I want to tell you why the cancellation of Stephen Colbert's show matters so much. We are on the precipice of entering a censorship state in which Donald Trump is using the powers of the federal government in order to erase criticism from the airwaves.
Do you know what's so funny? Weren't we already in the censorship state when people were posting on Facebook and other social media about COVID and vaccines and where the virus came from, the lab? And weren't all those people, they had their accounts throttled or outright suspended? And that was at the behest of the intelligence, I should say the FBI. You had, Facebook cooperating. This happened, yes, during the Trump and the Biden administration. And it was all at the behest of the federal government. So I'm sorry, but we're already kind of used to this whole censorship state. But this guy keeps on going, and he's trying to say that Donald Trump is censoring people when clearly, in my opinion, he's not.
What's happening at CBS right now is bone-chilling. CBS's parent company, Paramount, is trying to get a merger approved, and they need that merger to be approved by the Trump administration. And so in a variety of different ways, Paramount is providing monetary and political favors to Donald Trump. First, they settled a totally bogus lawsuit that they would have won in a walk in court that was filed against them by Trump. They essentially just paid him $16 million personally.
So that lawsuit, just so you know, is the one where CBS deceptively edited that Kamala Harris interview so that she, quite frankly, wouldn't look as dumb on that answer regarding Israel. And so Donald Trump sued, and they settled. Now, many within CBS, including folks over there at 60 Minutes, are saying that they're trying to appease Donald Trump so that his administration will approve the sale of the company. And I think that for a lot of people looking at this, you realize, number one, that it's actually not Donald Trump that approves this sale. It's the FCC, which is an independent authority.
Then Paramount went to 60 Minutes, their flagship news program, and told them to stop criticizing Donald Trump so much. Why? Because they need this merger approved. And then finally, they have now canceled Stephen Colbert's show, knowing that Stephen Colbert was a nightly thorn in the side of Donald Trump.
So that's what people at 60 Minutes have said. But here's the deal. They've said that Donald Trump is demanding that 60 Minutes take it easy on him. But if you watch 60 Minutes, you know that almost every single Sunday night, they're going after Donald Trump. They're still doing very news-driven pieces on that show regarding Trump, and oftentimes they are negative. And so the Colbert thing, that show has been flat out unsuccessful financially. It is literally underwater. He was making $15 million a year. They had, can you imagine this, Joan? 200 plus people working on is that a 1 hour show? Is that how long they are?
Yep.
What the heck? Do you know that when I fill in on like WMAL in Washington, D.C., they've got like a producer, they've got a call screener, they've got an executive producer as well. I don't know what to do with all those people. I feel pressure. It's like I've done all my own work.
And they have a news person.
And so, I mean, they have a staff of over 200 people. Again, Colbert, $15 million a year. And so production costs, they say, were $100 million a year, and it was operating at a $40 million deficit. Now, Senator Chris Murphy, he won't tell you that, even though that has clearly been in the news since this whole thing happened on, Thursday night, when Colbert came out and he said, they've canceled my show. And right when he announced it that morning, I shared with you the information about how the show was underwater. And I do understand that the show was doing really well in a rating standpoint. But if you're not pulling in the Benjamins, nobody cares about the ratings. I mean, that is where these networks are these days.
In Washington, D.C., where there's an NPR station, radio station. The station was at 1111 North Capitol Street. So very pricey real estate, right?
Okay.
They had an office building, 400,000 square feet.
An NPR station.
Yes.
400,000 square feet.
10-story office building in excess of 400,000 square feet.
Did they really need all that? Clearly not.
Hold on. We have how many different stations in one building?
What do we got? 5? Is it 5? We got 2 country, sports, talk, and Q. So that's 5. Yeah, we got 5 stations here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's pretty small. And and we don't have they had like a gourmet kitchen where they, would make wonderful lunches for the employees.
That's our tax dollars at work.
So
they deserve to be defunded. And as it relates to Colbert, Gutfeld was on the other night and he's like, we have like 15 people working on this show. Yeah. 15.
Yeah.
And so, and when you look at the quality, I'm just going to say it, when you look at the quality of Colbert's monologues, they simply put were not funny. Now, here's the thing, is that Gutfeld is doing fantastic. He's on Fox News. He's actually funny. But does it make sense to you, Joan, when I say that Colbert was on the network, CBS, that it was really dumb for him to alienate half the audience because he's on the network where he's supposed to appeal to everyone, like Johnny Carson did and Jay Leno did. Does that make sense? Does people understand that? I hope they do.
Like you and I might understand it, but Samuel, how old are you?
29.
Okay, so do you remember watching David Letterman?
Yes.
You do? Okay. How about Johnny Carson?
Because of what I study, I have gone back and I've watched clips of him. And my parents are flower children of the 60s and 70s, so they... I grew up with them telling me stories about stuff with Johnny Carson.
So we all know that if you're on a network like CBS and not cable, you're supposed to be more broad. You're supposed to, cast to everyone.
And having a friendly demeanor, like both, all of these guys had a friendly demeanor. I mean, Letterman went off the deep end at the end, but they had this friendliness about them that was inviting.
Yeah.
Colbert's not a friendly guy.
He's just an a-hole, what he is.
Yeah.
Gutfeld, by the way, 3 million viewers total, and 365,000 in the 25-54 age range, the coveted 25-54. Colbert, 1.9 million, 280,000 viewers in that coveted range. I think that if Colbert wanted to, he could go over to MSNBC and do what Gutfeld is doing on Fox News. And he'd probably be. Do you think he'd be successful? I think he'd be successful.
I mean, it's their audience, sure.
Yeah, I mean, go and do all the anti-Trump stuff you want, and look how well that worked out for Air America. That's an industry joke. Air America. Air America was a left-leaning radio network full of people like, Keith Olbermann was on there, and Rachel Madcow was on there, and all these other people failed miserably. Ed Schultz was on Air America too.
Wow.
And it didn't last, not very long at all. But anyway, back to Chris Murphy, the senator. He talks about the evils of big corporations controlling the flow of information.
This is all clearly designed to get their merger approved so that their millionaire and billionaire owners and investors who are already filthy rich can become even more filthy rich. This is what happens when these massive corporations control the flow of information.
Now, here's what's funny about that. Where was Chris Murphy complaining about the flow of information and these big evil corporations when they were all covering for Joe Biden? You know what I mean? Because we were all on talk radio. We're like, what is it that we see about Joe Biden's clear cognitive decline that these networks and their newscasts don't see? They were covering for Joe Biden. So I didn't see Senator Chris Murphy talking about the evils of those big corporations controlling the flow of information then. It is only now. No, he was not calling them out, obviously.
This is a really, really dangerous moment. Stephen Colbert didn't get thrown off the air because he wasn't doing well. He was the highest rated show on TV in late night. He was canceled, very likely, because Paramount and its owners are trying to get rich off of this merger, and Donald Trump has made it clear to them and everybody else in the media space that if you want any favors from me, then you have to silence my critics on your platforms.
So there you go. So people are trying to make this about Donald Trump and you know, the merger. And here's the last thing that I'll say about this. And I think you probably, actually, I know you've been through this, Joan, I think. You ever been through a group sale or a station sale?
Yes.
So when they do that, whether you're talking about a Fortune 500 company or a media company, they go through the books like with a fine-tooth comb. And they want to look at what's working and what's making money and what's not. And whatever's not making money, even if the ratings are splendid, if it's not making money, then they don't want that show.
Right.
Right? It's pretty ruthless, to be perfectly honest with
you.
you.
It is. It's awful.
Yeah. And nothing matters except for the bottom line. And in the case of Colbert, you had a bloated staff, you had an arrogant and I don't know what else to call a Colbert, just, somebody who was going to say anything he wanted to say, regardless of what the company said. And I think that they decided that he's not pulling in the money and he's not behaving. And this thing, it's got high ratings, but we're not making any money on it. So why do we continue to produce it? And the people at Skydance are probably like, yeah, we don't want this headache. We want this headache gone by the time we get in. And that is exactly what happened. Very quickly, Joan, a special good morning and happy birthday to maybe one of our youngest listeners.
Oh.
Nora is turning 8 today.
Oh, hey, Nora, 8.
That's right.
Whew.
Now, listen, Nora, don't ever smoke because you'll sound like Joan Jones today.
Well, there's the whiskey too. I mean,
there's the cigarettes and the whiskey. That's
right.
Exactly right. So anyway, happy birthday to little Nora. That is awesome.
Happy birthday, Nora.
All right, real quick. And by the way, the whole whiskey and cigarettes thing.
We were kidding.
Yes, we are. Well, no, we don't want her to drink whiskey and cigarettes.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
Cigars.
I've told you. I've told you real quickly my story of trying to get into broadcasting school. Have I told you about that?
No.
People that have listened for a long time know this story, but it's been a few years. I tried to get into this broadcasting school called LA Broadcasters out of high school. And because I wanted to be like a radio DJ or whatever. And I wanted to get into this broadcasting school. They wouldn't take me because my voice was too high. And I've told the story about the guy in the Hawaiian shirt who just looked at me and he said, I remember this to this day. And he shook his head and he said, we have a great production program too, where you can produce commercials and do all those fun things. But he said, I don't hear you on the radio. And man, I was
You were devastated. Yeah.
I was devastated.
Oh, yeah.
I was so bummed. And I've often
So
wondered,
they wouldn't even take your money?
No, that's how bad I was, Joan. They wouldn't even take my money.
I'm sorry, Dan.
That's a great point. I didn't even think about it. I was so bad, they wouldn't even rip me off. That's how bad I was. And yet somehow, here I am. I wish I could find that
yes.
Hawaiian shirt guy.
Send him a photo of your Marconi Award.
That's exact. I don't even know who it was.
In your face, mister.
Yeah.
Like that kind of a thing.
So listen, Nora, if she's still listening, know that you might have the odds stacked against you in whatever you want to do in life, but, you never quite know what's going to happen.
Just think of Dan.
What is it Casey Kasem used to say? Keep something about reaching for the stars.
Oh, yeah.
Something about that when he wasn't yelling about dead dogs in his show. Hey, moving right along. 7:41 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, so the whole Epstein thing, and we've been talking about, bouncing between a whole bunch of different topics this morning. But there's big news with the whole Epstein thing. There's the Wall Street Journal, the report there, and Donald Trump demanding that Pam Bondi get that grand jury information out. I mean, there's things that are going on. But Tim Burchett was on with ABC, of course, Tennessee's own Tim Burchett, congressman, eastern part of Tennessee. And he was on with ABC, and he says, listen, I want the Epstein stuff released just like the next person, but I've also got some worries.
But I would give everybody a caveat, or that's a big word, but a warning, that just because somebody flew on a plane doesn't mean they're a dadgum pedophile. I have a lot of wealthy friends, and they fly on people's planes, and their plane will be down, and they'll say, hey, we're going somewhere, and we got an extra seat. Do you want to go? And they don't even know the person on the plane. So, that's one of the things I worry about, too, because, President Trump admitted that he flew on his dadgum plane, and so I worry about some innocent people.
Right. It's funny because that is actually exactly what I've been saying for a long time. By the way, one of the things that I've also said regarding the Democrats, remember what they tried to do last week, where they tried to get the House of Representatives to vote to force Epstein and the Department of Justice and all, not Epstein, but force the release of the Epstein grand jury information and everything that is related to Epstein. And the Democrats, they were trying to sort of force a House vote on that. And the Republicans knew exactly what they were trying to do. The Democrats were trying to force the Republicans to have to vote on it. But the Republicans, of course, blocked it in committee because what they said was that attaching it to an unrelated piece of legislation wasn't the avenue for this. And that's exactly what the Democrats wanted. They were trying to embarrass the Republicans and get them to do exactly what they were, again, forced to do, vote it down so the Democrats could use it as a talking point, which is what they did. And Tim Burchett knows that, and I know that, and a lot of you folks know that as well. But as far as the release of this information, Trump has told Pam Bondi, and now she has taken action to demand that those grand jury files be released, and that everything that is related to the Epstein files and the Epstein case and the Epstein saga be released. The question that he was asked, though, and it was an interesting answer, will we ever find out the truth?
I think it's a start. I don't think we're ever going to get to the bottom of anything, all of it, ma'am. I mean, look at the Kennedy assassination. Do you actually believe Lee Harvey Oswald shot President Kennedy from the front and the back, and this magic bullet appears an hour later on a hospital gurney and in an emergency room? This town doesn't give up its secrets very easy, and I'd warn people too. Now we're getting a hold of this stuff. What happened the last 4 years under the Biden administration? Senator Dick Durbin blocked my Senator Marsha Blackburn, who valiantly fought to get those records out and acted pretty much like there wasn't anything, and the media backed him up on it. And now all of a sudden the media thinks they've got something, and it's leveled towards Trump.
There is a number of things going on with the Epstein files this morning. Democrats and the media watching as this massive fight between Donald Trump and his supporters. So they're throwing gasoline on the fire, again, by trying to force that vote on an unrelated piece of legislation in the House of Representatives. Donald Trump is, of course, calling this whole thing a hoax. But honestly, I've been trying to figure out what exactly he means by that. But he is the one that hired Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, and all three made careers out of talking about this ad nauseum. So, in my opinion, Donald Trump did step in it. And my computer just crashed. My computer just
hate when that happens.
Do you know what the thing is, too? Is that I've got this whole thing timed out so that I hit the brake like on time. And when it does this and I have to wait for it to uncrash, it makes me late.
Yeah.
However, here's what Tim Burchett had to say about Donald Trump.
President Trump has started claiming this is all a hoax, that it's being perpetrated by the Democrats. He says some of his own supporters, who he labeled stupid and foolish Republicans. You are obviously one of those people who wants this released. What's your reaction to how President Trump has handled it?
It's his strategy. Was I a little ticked off he said that stuff? Sure I was. But I'm a big boy, ma'am. We're playing in the big leagues right now.
Yeah, and you folks know that I was surprised when Trump lashed out at his own supporters as well for a number of different reasons, basically saying that he didn't want the support of those who were still talking about all of this. And as I said this on the podcast, I said this on the radio as well, it did feel like a gut punch to me and to a lot of you folks as well. Although I'll be honest with you, Joan, and you and I spoke about it on the air, I think we're over it now. I'm sort of like, okay, you know what, whatever. We're going to agree to disagree. And I'm not like Democrats. I'm not like others who used to be in my life who are going to disconnect because of a simple political disagreement.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, I've already, was it a gut punch? Absolutely. But you know what? I'm over it. I've moved on. I still support Donald Trump. And that is what Tim Burchett said as well. I don't think it was a very smart political move on Donald Trump's part. However, as Burchett said, this is rough and tumble politics. So there's a number of different angles that we could talk about. But, the bottom line is that there has been a lot of things that have said about Donald Trump, a lot of really scurrilous accusations that have been made against Donald Trump. But one of the things that I don't want you folks to forget is there is a guy named Bradley Edwards, and he was an attorney working on the case against Jeffrey Epstein. And somebody caught up to him the other day and asked him about this whole thing. And he talks about how, and you folks have heard this before, but now you're hearing it straight from the attorney. Bradley Edwards says, as he was working on the case against Epstein, that Donald Trump was incredibly helpful while this investigation was taking place.
The only thing that I can say about President Trump is that he is the only person who, in 2009, when I served a lot of subpoenas on a lot of people, or at least gave notice to some pretty connected people that I wanted to talk to them, he is the only person who picked up the phone and said, let's just talk. I'll give you as much time as you want. I'll tell you what you need to know, and was very helpful in the information that he gave, and gave no indication whatsoever that he was involved in anything untoward whatsoever, but had good information that checked out and that helped us, and that we didn't have to take a deposition of him.
That was in 2009?
That was in 2009.
Yep, exactly right. Donald Trump was there every step of the way, doing everything he could to help the people that were impacted by this and also help the investigation. Now, there is also this, what some people call a third rail regarding the whole Epstein story. There's another guy, maybe you've heard of him. His name is John, and I may be shanking this name, Kiriakou. And he's the guy who used to be a CIA officer, and he was a whistleblower who blew the lid off the CIA's waterboarding interrogation techniques years ago. Remember that? And so over the weekend, he was on a podcast, a really good podcast, by the way, with Patrick Bet-David. And he says that these Epstein files will never be released. And the reason, 2 words, national security.
Jeffrey Epstein, in my view, is a textbook case of an access agent. I've said this before, but I think it's important and it bears repeating. If you are a foreign intelligence service and you want information from Bill Clinton or Bill Gates or Alan Dershowitz or important people, you want the secret information from them. You're not going to recruit them. They don't need anything from you. They don't have any financial vulnerabilities. Mm-hmm. So you do the next best thing and you recruit somebody who has access to them.
Right. And so they go to Jeffrey Epstein, who does have access. And these guys, they had power. They had money, of course, and property and the rest of those things that so many people strive for. The one thing that they did not have access to was underage girls. And so the question now is, all right, so Was this the Mossad through Israel? Was this the CIA working with the Mossad? What was it? And by the way, don't forget that Ghislaine Maxwell's father was supposedly an Israeli spy. So the true story of what happened with Jeffrey Epstein may never, ever actually be told. We'll have to, see what happens with all of these released files and what Pam Bondi is going to be able to do with the grand jury information. And will the president be able to get all of this information released? And nation, await.